this whole month we've been talking about the gift of God, and the Bible over and over again in so many different angles is just trying to get this one message to us that life is a gift. And the Christmas season is the culmination of that, where it says, for God so loved that he gave. And you can't love without giving. And this is the ultimate gift when God gave his son. And it's to show the depth of God's love. And really what happens is, I think for us, we get to choose our attitude in life. That if we are going to be humble, grateful receivers of the gift, or casual, or irreverent, or even arrogant. You know, this time of the year, all of us are, or especially if you have kids, you're trying to make sure they're good receivers of gifts. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, you go to the family function and they're unwrapping it. You get a little nervous because first of all, you hope that's something that they don't have, because you're like, they're going to go, I already have this. And you might get a little nerves, and you're like, just whatever it is, you give them a little coach before they get there. Whatever it is, smile and say thank you. Try to be grateful, and rightfully so, because all of us, you know, it's so distasteful when we see people that are just ungrateful. When someone has gone out of their way and tried to give someone a gift. A few months ago, we were at trunk or treat with Charlie, and they had, we're walking around with the kids and the different trunks, and they're decorated, and the kids, you know, they go around, and for the most part, they're really good, and they're cute, and they have their bag out, and they say trick or treat, and then we say, make sure you say thank you, and you have to do a few reminders as they get going, and then later into the night, things started getting a little chaotic, and some parents had their backs turned, and one of the people hosting a trunk was busy talking to their neighbor as, you know, the evening went on, and these kids went up there and just started grabbing. You know what I'm talking about? Just started grabbing like this when they had their back to them, and immediately you have this sense inside of you that that's just not the way to do it. That's just not the way to do it. And really, what we've learned from the Christmas stories, it's a contrast in what you do with the gift that God has given you. Not only is Jesus a gift, life itself, it's all a gift. In Matthew's gospel, he writes about it this way. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem. So right up at the beginning, he sets up the contrast between Herod and the Magi. You see, as we learn, they're all royalty. The Magi travel a long distance following the star, and Herod is right in the neighborhood. Bethlehem is a stone's throw. It's the suburbs, if you will, of Jerusalem to this day. So Jesus is born right there in Herod's backyard, and there's a contrast between Herod and the way Herod approaches this gift that's arrived and the way the Magi approach this gift that has arrived. The Magi have traveled all the way across the desert, weeks' journey, and they've brought very expensive gifts to give to this newborn king. But Herod's the complete opposite. Herod's insecure, he's afraid, he's often alone. In fact, historians know that Herod killed his wife, his mother-in-law, and 2 of his own children. A little insecure, because what he had, he was afraid someone was going to take from him. See, the reality is, a friend taught me this. He said, I taught my kids this. Never receive something like this. Always receive it like this, palms up. This shows gratitude. When people teach you how to meditate, which is taught over and over again in the scriptures of the importance of meditation, but they always teach you to do this. You're receiving. And you're receiving with gratitude, with humility, with a sense of reverence. The other day I went to the mall to get my shopping done, and I'm not that great of a shopper, to be honest with you. And I don't know about you, but if you go to the mall this time of the year, you got to have your game face on. And I told myself before I went to the mall that I was going to be happy. And that there might be some people there that weren't going to be happy. But I was going to be happy anyway, I told myself. And I said, there's going to be some reasons to not be happy before I got there. So I'm ready. I got to get myself ready. And I get to the mall. Things are going pretty good. I found a relatively good parking spot without much effort. And things are going, they're just going fantastic. And I get into the department store, and I just tell the lady at the counter kind of what I'm looking for. And I said, I'm not much of a shopper. If you could just kind of bring it to me, handle it. And she's like, this is very good. And I said, I'll take it. And so we had a good relationship there. And she's like, come on over here. And I said, okay, no problem. And when we got there, the person behind the counter kind of had a little bit of an attitude. It was like a handoff situation. She was going to hand me off to someone that was going to check me out and the register. And she said, this one's not working. And the lady was, like, we have a customer, And so we moved down here to the next one, and we got down here, and she goes, not in this one. We have to go to that one, By the way, let's just pause right here. And a round of applause for everyone that works in retail at this time of year. I love you guys. Oh, my word. How you do it, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. Are you guys been good to the people in retail? Please tell me you're not abusing them. All right. So then we get back to this line over here again, and you could just see the tension behind the counters building. And then she said, you're supposed to get a box for somebody else. And I told myself I was going to stay happy. So I did, and I stayed over there, and I was being my best self. By the way, I should just put this out there for whatever it's worth. I am not always my best self when I'm shopping. But I was just determined to be. And so I stood there in line, and the lady was like, they're going to get you at this counter. I'm like, okay, fine. While she turned her back, a line formed right here. Now, I was trying to stand on the X where she wanted me, and all of a sudden, it was 5 deep, just like that. And she had her back turned. When she turned around, where does the line look like it is? I'm the one that's not in line. And so she starts helping this customer. Did I tell you I was going to try to be happy the whole time? And I didn't say anything. And I just thought, well, this is going to suck, And and then finally, the lady who was helping me, who handed me off, turned around. She goes, oh, no, you're supposed to help him. And I think she was so surprised that I didn't say anything, that I didn't speak up, that she kind of gives me a little nod. She goes, I'm going to get you some extra stuff. I was buying perfume. She goes around and gets a bunch of samples and just dumps them into the bag. Now, here's the thing. You get to decide how you approach life, the attitude you get to bring to it. And there is an approach that is something to do with lack and want and fear and need and greed and all the emotions that spill out of, I will call it the Herod in all of us. As you go on to read the story, it says they came to worship the newborn king. When Herod heard this, he was disturbed. Why? Because when you have the wrong attitude in life, you are easily disturbed. This is so key. If you'll get this, this will help you all of 2026. If you have the wrong attitude about life, you're going to be easily disturbed. You know, sometimes it's just not worth getting so worked up over. A couple of days ago, I was driving, I was making a left-hand turn, and you got to gauge, how far away they are. And, I'm pretty sure I gave whoever you are plenty of room, but you didn't agree. And when I turned, Vicki and I were talking about, I was counting 1001, 1002, and there was plenty of time. It looks, in my view, and maybe I'm a little more aggressive than the average driver, I don't know, but the person just could not wait to let me have it with the horn. Anybody ever been there? Just to let me know how angry they were. And, maybe we could do a video replay, and maybe I clearly deserved it. But here's the thing that it strikes me. Some people go through life, and they just can't wait to unload their anger. It's just right there. And what it is they're looking at life like everyone's trying to get in front of them. Everyone's trying to take advantage of them. Everyone's trying to get one over on them. And this is what Herod had in his mind. He was Herod. He was a king. There was only a couple people ahead of him on the whole planet, like Caesar, and that's about it. So as far as having stuff, he kind of had it all, and he still wasn't happy. I'll tell you one little thing that'll maybe help you. The minute you put happiness outside of yourself in any form, you're destined for failure. You say, I'm going to be happy when, and you fill in the blank. I'm going to be happy when I get a job. I'm going to be happy when I get a different job. I'm going to be happy when I get my own house. I'm going to be happy when I get a girlfriend. I'm going to be so happy when I get rid of this girlfriend. I'm going to be happy, right? And it's fill in the blank. It's always, you're always about to be happy. This will change your life if you can dial this one in. Happiness is always here. You bring it to whatever you do. You bring it to whatever circumstances you are in. You are happy or you're not happy. I'm not saying you don't have a bad day, you get cranky, you get upset from time to time. Fundamentally, though, you're a happy person or you're not. That's a decision of the attitude that you bring to it. Life is a gift. And if you can change your attitude, to change your mind, to be a humble receiver of this gift, then every day you wake up and you thank God for everything that He's given you today. Instead of looking, when you wake up, at all the things you don't have, which then start to spiral your mind into anger and resentment and bitterness. And by the way, we have a huge entitlement problem in our hands here. Entitled. Entitled to what? Well, that's a good question. Ask yourself this out loud. What are you entitled to? See, the thing about asking yourself the question out loud and answering it out loud is it will humiliate you. Because if anything comes out of your mouth other than nothing, well, Chris, you don't know me. I actually am entitled to quite a few things. Well, please tell us. Because if you start to back up the truck a little bit, you start to realize, wait a minute, what did I do to deserve any of it? It doesn't mean you aren't an amazing person. It doesn't mean you haven't worked hard. And it doesn't mean that you aren't wonderful. But what happens is if you wake up in the morning and you think you're entitled and you think people owe you, and then your life starts to take on this Herod-like quality. As we know later on in the story, Herod is so full of rage that he sends his soldiers to wipe out the children, the infants. So paranoid you don't have to be disturbed. You don't have to get easily upset. In fact, if faith should do anything for you, man, I wish everyone would just lock this one in. If faith should do anything for you, it should make you a more calm, accepting, resilient person. Why? Because whatever comes your way, you're calm because you know God is working in your behalf. And you may not understand everything. You may not grasp it at the time, but you can live peacefully because you know that God's working for you. But when you don't have faith, then everything that comes can disturb you because you can't control it. You can't determine its outcome. You don't know exactly how it's going to happen. The Magi, on the other hand, think of them. You see the star, and it calls to you. It calls you. Man, I don't understand people who don't get Christmas. I mean, I understand how we can all get out of tune in a lot of ways, but if there's ever one time of the year when it should hit your radar, it should be this time. They saw the star and it called them. And they followed it. And they followed it. And every one of us, we need that shining star. We have to follow it. What it is we realize that life's a gift. And they come, and what do gifted people do? They give their gift. They come all the way across the desert, and they find this baby, another king. They aren't threatened. They're kings. Herod's a king. They're not threatened because he's a king. They bring their gifts. They bow down. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. What would happen in our society, in our world, if we all approached life as grateful receivers? If we all understood that God has blessed us in so many ways. Freely you have received. Freely you what? Give. You don't have to hold on. You know the people who are able to give so freely with their words, with their kindness, it's usually because their cup is so full that now they can spill it out to you. And that's the whole message of the gospel, is that God has given to us, and now we can give to others. At Christmas, it's not the time to talk about what you deserve. It's the time to talk about how blessed you are. It's not the time to focus on what you don't have. It's the time to focus on what you do have. All of life is a gift. In 2 Corinthians it says this: thanks be to God for this indescribable gift. Can I just say this? When you get it right, your life is lived with thanksgiving. Every day you just live grateful. You live grateful in the way you interact with other people. You live grateful in the way that you wake up in the morning. You just are constantly grateful because you realize it's all a gift. Now, before we end today, I want to talk to some of you because some of you may be saying, like, yes, it's all a gift, but Chris, I'm going through a very difficult time in my life right now. Or there's something that I've been praying about or asking God for, and it just doesn't seem like it's coming. That's the message of Christmas as well, is that God has just the right time for you. In Galatians 4, it says this, at just the right time, in the fullness of time, God sent his Son. It was just in the right time. I don't know about you, but a lot of times in my life, it's felt like God forgot, left me hanging. Has anyone here ever wished that God could hurry a little bit? You know, you're asking for something, you're praying for something, and we by nature as humans, we're impatient. Is it true? It's hard to wait. It's so hard to wait. Yesterday, I was helping Charlie get ready for service, and I've been trying to help her with her patience for Christmas because, man, 7-year-olds, they really get anxious for Christmas. Do you know what I'm talking about? And, I've done all the things that I know to do, like I went and bought the Advent calendar. There's a piece of chocolate every day. You get to look forward to this. And we're counting down the days. It's 24 days. It's brutal. It's just brutal. And we're counting them down, and they get closer and closer and closer. And yesterday, she's coming down the stairs, and she says, Dad, I'm really sad. Christmas is already over. I'm like, over? It hasn't even gotten here. She goes, I know, but then it's going to be over, and I got to wait a whole nother year. We haven't even celebrated, and she's worried about waiting for next year. Because we do not like to wait. But the Bible says, in the fullness of time, at just the right time, God brings his gift into your life. So maybe it's a special kind of gift. But if you're patient, if you trust God, if you wait on God, God will bring it in just the right time. You see, because while you're waiting, God's setting everything up behind the scenes. How many parents here have been setting up stuff behind the scenes for your kids all the time? You're always arranging stuff. You're always trying to get stuff lined up for them, more than they will ever recognize. God's arranging things behind the scenes. But more than that, you know what God is also doing while you're waiting? God's working on you. Because if I hand you a gift and you're a grateful receiver and you know exactly what to do with that gift, that's a good thing. But if I hand you a valuable gift and you have no understanding, appreciation for it, you won't receive it gratefully, and you might even abuse it. You don't hand the car keys to a kid that's 7. It's a great gift, but they aren't ready for it yet. What's God doing while you're waiting? He's getting you ready to receive it, so you'll know what to do with it, so you'll value it, so you'll use the gift in the way that God wants you to use it. Do you remember Joseph when he was waiting? He had this dream. He knew God had put it in his heart, but Joseph had to go on this incredible journey of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And all the while, God was setting things up, but God was preparing Joseph so that he would be the kind of person that could handle such a valuable gift. Just be patient. Just know that God has not forgotten about you. God knows exactly where you are and exactly what you're going through. And at just the right time, the gift is going to come.